Ooh. Good morning. Good morning. Another chilly one. Another chilly one. How are we doing, everybody? I apologise. I think I'm slightly late. Maybe a couple of minutes late. Welcome. Sunday morning. We haven't done a Sunday morning since the start of the year. The last season of Zwift racing, of Zwift riding, indoor riding. We used to do a lot of Sunday mornings. We used to do a lot, and it's been mainly Sunday afternoons over the last couple of weeks that we've been doing this series, the VirtuSlo series. Oh, looks like I'm about to level up to level 91 today. About time. So it feels a bit weird coming on a Sunday morning. But Charlie's out today, so I was like, well, we usually go for a little coffee date on a Sunday morning. So I will. I'll do this event this morning instead, I thought, and I'll have the rest of the afternoon / evening. I won't have to worry about racing. Where are we here? 16 minutes. There it is. Oh no, it starts in 11 minutes. Look at that. 577 people have signed up. There we go. I'm going to join. Now, I don't want to disappoint you, but it's a flat race today. It is pretty flat. But that doesn't mean, it won't be exciting, hopefully. And there should be a real mix of intensity. It also means that if you remember back to the first race we did of this series, the VirtuSlo series, that did the Petit KOM in France. I think that's what it's called, Petit KOM. That was a pretty exciting race. There was quite a bit of an attack in because there's a few strong riders that do this event. There's quite a bit of attack in, and eventually it came down to a sort of reduced bunch sprint at the end, and the reduced bunch sprint was one where I tried to get inside the top 50% of that group, and I think the group was like 20 or so riders. So to get inside the top 20, I just about did, I think, or top 25. I finished 12th, so I just about made that top 50% cut. Yeah. So without further ado, let's jump in. It's starting in 9 minutes. I may as well just go straight to the pens. Save some time. Alright, sorry folks, I haven't been looking at the chat, but I will now, just as I get stuff set up. Watopia Waistband. That's the route today. For some bizarre reason, I thought we were in France again. But I don't mind Watopia Waistband. Although, we've done enough in Watopia this week, quite frankly. Ooh, I shouldn't leave my heart rate monitor on that shelf. It's a bit damp. Damp with the sweat from my heart rate monitor. Oh. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Emma. Good morning, Jay. Why can't I scroll? Why can't I see who else is here? David, good morning. Jonathan, good morning. Well, you're too kind, Jay. You're too kind. Oh. Right. I better move my legs a bit. It's been a pretty another pretty consistent week riding wise. but I've had more intensity this week than I have done over the last couple of weeks. There's no doubt about that. And last night I had a pretty poor night's sleep, even though my Garmin said I slept pretty well last night. One of those mornings I woke up and I was like, no, my Garmin is lying to me, and my legs were really, really restless, and that's usually a sign that the training load is ramping up. And I think last week we did about 15 hours of riding, and I think it was about 700 TSS, training stress score. Oh, my live chat is frozen, that's why it's not. Apologies. This week we're on for something similar. So we're on for something very similar in terms of training stress score, but the hours are slightly lower. So when that happens, that usually means that the intensity has been higher for the training stress score to be obviously higher for less time. And that's because we've done 3 races this week, although technically this is now 4. Yeah, I think 4 is quite extreme. But it's just the way the cookies crumbled this week. It's just the way cookie has crumbled. At the end of the day, the Zwift Racing Leagues have been much harder than I thought they would be. And the Prestige race on Thursday night that we did was also harder than I thought it would be, considering the course. The course wasn't... the course didn't really seem to me like one that could have yielded the numbers, the power numbers and efforts and things that it did. But then, obviously, the way it played out with the 4 super strong riders, I'm not sure how many there were, getting off the front in that breakaway, it changed the whole dynamic of it. But to be honest, the easiest session, the easiest of the 3 this week so far, was the time trial on the Wednesday night. Settling into that rhythm and just, holding that threshold power, around about that threshold power, and just having something very easy to focus on in that rhythm, I think was a lot more comfortable than the other 2 races. The Tuesday race, I think the Zwift Racing League race, really, really pushed me. If any of you saw that stream, I went deep there. So my endurance ride, that's all I've been doing to supplement around these events is just riding Zone 1, Zone 2. And that kind of supplements the rest of my riding time throughout the week. So yesterday in the pouring rain, we did 2.5 hour endurance ride outside, which I would have liked to have done more, but given the conditions, that's all we managed. And the day before, I did just under 2 hours. So today, we're rounding off the week. We are rounding off the week. How can you push huge watts in the morning? I'm not a morning person. Oh, I agree with you, JQ. I agree with you. Actually, I'm not. I would say I'm not a morning person. when it comes to doing efforts. I can ride my bike in the morning, but I don't have I don't feel like I'm awake enough for that. I take my hat off to people who have to train, you know, before work, and you know, or like to race before work or anything like that. That's. But then again, I think it's much like anything. I think once you get into the routine, I think once you're used to it, I think that can, you know, I think that can work. But that's a good question, Jay. It's one that gets asked quite often, actually. So the training, when I do races such as this week, when I'm not racing, I 9 times out of 10 just ride my bike, zone 1, zone 2, you know, easy riding, you know, endurance riding, whatever you want to call it. I'll make up whatever hours I need, or whatever training stress score I'm aiming for that week, whatever volume, kilojoules, whatever you want to measure it with, because we use a variety of different ways. I try to offset the intensity with just low intensity. I don't go chasing, you know, I don't go chasing the training stress score or anything, or intensity with more intensity when I've already done races, for example. In terms of them weeks when I'm not racing, because when there's with Racing Legal finish and things, I'll structure the weeks a lot more. I'll look at like what I've managed to do during these weeks of racing, you know, the intensity distribution, how much time I've spent in zones, albeit it'll be very loose, you know, very loose, because, you know, I won't have done much tempo work. I won't have done much, you know, for example, a 3 by 30 minute session. You know, I won't have done any of that, because the races have been either very hard or very easy, very hard, very easy, you know, those types of efforts. So I'll try and structure the training weeks then. But where I am at this point in the season, because I haven't even really started training yet, I'm just getting back into riding now. I'm just trying to maintain a pretty constant training load for the next couple of weeks, just that I gradually get myself back into the normality. So we're looking at 700 TSS, around that region each week. And the way I achieve that, in the training weeks at least, is I just do the efforts in the races and then analyze later and see what's been done, basically. Yeah. I definitely think you can use the races as training. I definitely think you can.
Yeah, so good question. So yes, I would normally, if I had to, I would ride, well, sometimes I would ride before. So like before some of the races this week, you just sandwich the race with some zone 1, zone 2. Use it as a warm-up. Use it as an extended cool down. Today though I don't need to. Like I don't need to do any more. This event today now, just over an hour should see us through. But yeah, it really does. It doesn't really matter when I do it. When you're like really far out away from your goals, you know, consistency over, like, in my opinion, consistency over rigid structure is what should be focused on the most. You know, if you're 6 months away from your goal event, you know, you can afford to go like, oh, I'll move a session around this week, you know, or I'll do, you know, an extra ride, or, you know, I'll try and balance it out. As I get closer and closer to my events, you know, I'm less like that, and I'm more like, right, I'm gonna try my best now to stick to the absolute, you know, what we're actually trying to achieve. And you know, that goes for doing sessions where, you know, like you say, I could do zone 1, zone 2 later tonight. I could do another hour and a half. You know, I'm a big believer in double days, double sessions. You know, I don't think they bring any less benefit than doing you know, doing it directly after this event, for example. You know, it's different benefits, different pros and cons, I think. But and personal preference too. But, you know, there could be a point where I feel like, you know, I'm really recovering well from the races. I feel like I'm, you know, feeling quite strong. At the minute, it's difficult to explain, but I'm pushing good power, but I don't feel strong. So there's a big difference there. And whereas up till now I've been doing my endurance riding in the morning before the Zwift Racing League, for example. I wouldn't use Zwift Racing League as an example. That's a bad example because it's so hard. But like, say the time trial, for argument's sake, that I do on a Wednesday night, where I'm in control of that effort, and it doesn't really matter the result, as in, you know, the power. I'm not trying to break any of my own records. But what you could do is, or what I could do is, instead of doing my endurance ride hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning, and then doing that race in the evening, I can do endurance ride directly before it and add in that TT on at the end, and that brings along with it its different benefits. Let's go, Brian. I see you. Yeah, it's a hard start, I'm not gonna lie. Uncomfortable start. There's like a full squad of Wahoo guys, yeah. I need some fan. It's gonna come full pelt at me now. Oh, that's cold. Do I usually go with weekly hours or TSS? TSS. So weekly hours would be, you know, it's one of your side quests, but it's not something I don't think you need to really put a lot of focus on. I think it's still a big part of it, but TSS is going to be like one of the better metrics alongside hours. But to look at it even deeper again, if you know what kind of fitness, and when I say fitness, you know, like Training Peaks and even Strava to a certain extent, intervals.icu, they have fitness numbers, quote unquote. If you know where some of your best performances come, or if you look at last year and you look at where your peaks were, then you know what sort of fitness CTL number to aim for in order to forecast, you know, some of your best performances. It's a bit of a generalization there, but it gives you some guidance. Now that's a bit more complicated than using TSS, but it's still, if anything, you know, guides. They guide one another, is what I'm trying to say. You've just got to build then, you know, your training season based on those numbers. So, you know, timing your peaks, your training blocks, you know, that kind of thing, you know, and how you gradually build up to handling more and more TSS per week through different sessions, different types of sessions. And it all depends on your starting point. Again, everybody's different. Also, you know, your training history, how long you've spent cycling is another one, another factor. So, you know, although I'm looking at 700 TSS a week at the minute, I'm also looking at gradually increasing that to, you know, 900 further down the line, maybe in late December. But generally speaking, oh hey, level 91, let's go chat. But generally speaking, you know, this time of year especially, a lot of that TSS jump will be produced by more time spent on the bike, not necessarily more intensity. There might be a bit more of, you know, what you might class as tempo, you know, zone 3 or LT2, you know, in that kind of ballpark, but yeah, it's still heavily focused on volume. I do like this time of year when you sort of transition and you try and hold, you know, a very similar amount of workload for a couple of weeks, you know, similar hours, you know, 10-15 hours for a couple of weeks, because it allows you to get into a routine and a rhythm. You know, okay, you know, even the smallest things, I need to make breakfast at this time if I want to get on the bike at this time, you know, if I need to take the kids to school, for example, or get to work. You know, you've got to build it around your life. And sometimes, you know, that structure is needed so that when you start getting into higher training loads and you've got to dedicate more time, then you're already used to handling it in a way, you know, around your life. You're not just jump into that and you're desperately trying to squeeze in, or you're desperately trying to, you know, meet the TSS targets, which in their way sometimes are troublesome because people will chase the TSS with intensity, and sometimes that's not the best way to do it because, you know, not all TSS is created equal. We know that, don't we? So with sessions where I love prescribing to athletes but hate doing myself, I ask people that before they start coaching. I always get them to fill out a bit of a form about, you know, things like that. But I think, to be honest, any session that involves like 1 minute effort, usually anaerobic capacity or something similar, where you do a really hard 1 minute effort and then you rest for just a minute, you go into another minute, rest for a minute, and go into another minute. It's not a totally long block, it's only 3 1 minute efforts, but it's really daunting on paper, you know, seeing those, how hard those efforts are. I'm not gonna lie, it freaks me out a little bit. Some people who are particularly gifted in that department, you know, they love those sessions, and then they absolutely hate tempo sessions or threshold, whereas I love those. Oh no, sorry to hear about the dropout. I hope you get better luck in the next race, buddy. Why is your graph a different colour? That's quite a deep question, to be honest, about the training week cycles. Again, it really depends. Generally older athletes, but again, depending on, you know, their history in the sport, would be better off going with a rest week every 3 weeks, or at least maybe not as rigid as that, but certainly looking after their rest a lot more. Keeping that quite sacred, it's quite important, because rest is going to make you stronger at the end of the day. Fitness just makes you tired. Training makes you tired, but flipping heck. But recovery gives you fitness. Trying to answer these questions at 150 beats a minute is a real challenge. there's lots of ways of doing that rest week, you know, and also I think people worry sometimes that they can do too little, but you know, your body knows you best sometimes. If you need more rest than what the numbers tell you, then take more rest, you know. It's quite a complex question, but when would I like to be on my peak? Well, it's very loose at the minute, but around May, June, July time, I would like to be at my peak. Which is why, like, looking at my power numbers I've done over the last week and a bit already, I kind of want to, I feel like I'm already in a good place. And I think having that rest period, like a proper break, did me the world of good when we got married, and you know, I had to take some time off, and I didn't do any of the British hill climbs either. So, you know, really, truth be told, I've not really lost much of that kind of, you know, the if you're looking at power numbers, like the actual peaks, then I suppose, not a million miles away. What do you aim for? Meaning indifference between numbers you can hold, or how would you define when you're peaking? Well, for one, you know when you're peaking. I think you can definitely feel it. Maybe even before the numbers tell you. But then there's a difference in peaking. Oh, hang on. It's kicking off again. Yeah, I'm trying a different slot just to avoid him. No, the reason why I'm in this slot is because Charlie is out this morning. We usually go out, we spend some time together on a Sunday morning. She's out this morning, so I was like, well, save me waiting until this afternoon. I'll just do this morning slot. The full Wahoo team are here by the looks of it. How do I know in a race when to cover the gap or when to hold? I mean, that's a tough one, but generally you're looking for riders who you know are strong getting in a breakaway. You know, you might want to follow them. If the group starts to get quite big, you obviously need to try and follow it. There's a number of reasons. But the big one is, you've got to make sure you got the legs to do it. And that you're not at the back like me. And when you're getting a breakaway as well, you've always got to be thinking ahead. Same out when you're racing on the road, in road racing. Ooh, light little socks. So, you know, like on a course, I guess, which is flat, you can try and get in a breakaway, although it'll be even harder generally because the bunch is so big. And as long as there's full commitment from the group for 5 or 10 minutes, that group might actually stay away. Like the other night, when we did the Prestige race on Thursday on the live stream, racing against, you know, a squad of phenomenal riders who went off in a breakaway. Now, someone in my situation who's looking to do well in the race, you know, I might have looked to have got into that break. But with the Volcano KOM, there was no chance of me holding on to those riders on the KOM. So I would have been dropped there. And that's where you've got to think forward, you know, because it might look beneficial to be there, but then if the bunch behind sweeps you up, you just end up back to square one. But don't get me wrong, in some situations it'll work, but you've got to know yourself, you know. No disrespect, everybody is watching from a screen and you know, I know I'm pedaling the bike, and if I think I can't do it or it's not a sensible move given my current state, then that's why I won't do it. So there is reasoning. At the minute, there's not been a lot of variability, for me anyway, in this event. So it's been quite a nice race of just, you know, slightly more power, slightly less power, slightly more power. You know, not like bang and drop, bang. Thank you, Jesse. I think so, Jay, I think so. Or even this last 2 kilometers here are deceptively hard. What do you think, chat? This little bit here, it goes under the bridge, you know, on the last lap. If people go here, it strings out a lot, I always think. Like, there goes Jan. Again, I'm just going to fluctuate power. I'm not trying to really respond. Good position, isn't it, Brian? Good job. There goes, this is a good example, look, as it stretches out. I don't know, Jay, maybe that's a good question to throw back to the chat. I think, genuinely, this time of year, I think I'm more considered an all-rounder. When you put on a couple of kilograms, it hurts your watts per kilo. But where I am with my power numbers, if I could do 350 to 400 watts, in that kind of mid to low 60 kilogram weight bracket, then that puts me in a pretty good position to be quite a good all-rounder. We used to say when we were racing that like 60 to 70 kilograms is a really good weight for like a pure all-rounder. Because generally, you know, you've got good upper end power for a lot of things, so you'd be quite handy at lots of things. You know, it might not be amazing at all of them, but it's only like, you know, when I get into the summer, spring, summer, autumn, my weight comes down and I get into like that 62 kilogram range and I'm doing 380 watts for, you know, half an hour, 40 minutes. That's when you turn into a pure climb, I would have said. But it's a massive generalization. I'm saying 60 to 70 kilograms. You know, that's talking about, you know, what I've just generally experienced. I'm not saying you should aim for it, certainly. Oh. Oh. Ooh, we got some rest. Finally. Oh. Yeah. I know. As I said, there was a generalization. Oh, Jay, you're asking all the questions. All those deep questions that definitely can't be answered on a live stream at 150 beats a minute. Well, for me, I definitely have to watch what I eat. I definitely have to track what I eat. I need to weigh food. I can't get down to the weight that I used to be at. If you've been following this channel for 6, 7, 8, 9 years, well, not 9 years, 5, 6 years, I used, obviously being a lot younger, in my early 20s. Now I've definitely got to be watching what I eat. Yeah, don't take it too literal, folks. The weight. When I said 60 to 70 kilograms, you know, usually in the off season, about this time of year, 65, 66, 67. To be honest, I like doing them on a live stream. I like doing them on a live stream because I can actually have a conversation. I don't really like doing a video on them because it's a one-way conversation and it's not as natural. I do things like that on Instagram though. YouTube Q&As are very odd, like I say, because you can't really directly communicate with people on Instagram. With a Q&A in your Instagram stories, you can have back and forth conversations with people as well after the question has been answered, so that's great. YouTube videos that are just Q&As, I've never had a good experience with them, I've got to be honest. With myself doing them personally. That's why I like doing them on live streams. Maybe we could do a live stream Q&A. Hey stream, welcome. Just a quick one. If you found this video, you clicked it, thanks for being here this Sunday morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Hit that like button, please, and thank you. Just supports the stream. It's free, and yeah, gives me a few more watts, hopefully. That was a good breakaway, that was, Paul. Fair play. As the stream said, it was dangerous. Sorry, Aftermath. That's an... I can't really answer that question without a lot more context. It's conversations like that, it's questions like that that, yeah, like I say, really can't be answered without, you know, full knowledge and history of you and your, you know, your stuff, you know. Thank you, Jack, I appreciate that. Let's talk about Star Wars instead, James. We're giving out free nuggets of information. No, it's difficult not to when it's all wrapped up and part of my job. Cycling in general. I appreciate it. Love it, James, love it. Have a belter. I'll probably be doing my own now come the end. They are rolling with the punches, Wahoo. They're hitting it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Who do we appreciate? Not Wahoo currently. Good job, Brian, good job. I'll see your name still in that. Let's go. Let's go, chat, let's go. Last 15k now. Last 15k. Hey, thank you, Jay. Hit the like button for Jay. Cheers, bud. That was a good effort, wasn't it? Doomed to fail though, really, because Luke was there from Wahoo. Well covered. To be honest, a race like this is very much a numbers game. Like Wahoo, well, we use it as an example because they've got so many riders here. Any one of them can, decide to attack or follow an attack. One or two of them can be a protected rider, they don't really have to do anything. Or maybe do a couple of soft attacks just to see, if that'll stay away without them expending too much energy. Because they're certainly strong enough to, do a couple of those and not really pay a price for it. So, whereas it's just me and Brian. No, but no, it definitely is a numbers game on a flat rolling course like this. The only thing I guess goes against them is that there is so many of them, and there's also a lot of other riders. There's 30 riders, so. It only takes one or two to try and chase or to, go with one of their attacks, and the whole group kind of gets sucked along. So it's very difficult. It's a good little race. I saw Paul coming through the group from the very back because I was there right with him, and then I thought I'd follow, but the whole group was coming. Exactly that, Jesse. Jan is probably one of the strongest riders on Zwift at the moment, right? There goes Paul again. What do we think, viewers? Is it going to be a sprint finish or is it going to be a breakaway? Let us know in the poll. Let's get the votes in. Votes will close 2 kilometers from the finish. Because anything could happen in the last 2 kilometers. We're not having you changing your vote in the last 2 kilometers. Oh no, not me. I mean how the race is gonna play out. Like don't you're not ask. I'm not asking what you want me to do. It's looking cool. It's looking close on the pole so far. Yeah, we do need Brian to attack, guys, right? Big Brian attack. There he is. There's Jan. He's sitting in the wings, waiting to go. Five kilometers to go, folks. 57% think a breakaway has a chance. Here we go, everybody. Here we go. Let's hit that like button. And that's the end of that. Oh. Oh my word. Oh. Before you leave, hit that like button, please. Oh. 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 Oh, there's not much I could do there, as you say, not much I could do. I was stuck to like glue. Stuck to like glue. Someone like me just needs a big enough gap. Like a big enough gap as in I just need a bit of breathing room. Enough room that like the group behind can sprint and try and surge and bridge across, but the gap is just slightly too big that they think they can close it, so they ease up again, and that gap is probably around 15-20 seconds, maybe a little bit more. But it's really hard to open up a gap that big, not just on a flat course, but with a group that size, and with the types of riders who are in there as well, with quite raw, quite a lot of raw power. So even if they're riding along, you know, just in the bunch, they're doing 250 watts, and obviously you're going to move quite fast on Zwift at 250 plus watts. So I did what I could at the end there. I mean, at the end of the day, conserve, and then be a bit more active towards the end. A bit more active towards the end, as we can see from the chart. Oh. Oh. Oh, my legs are stinging. My legs are stinging. Oh. Where's Brian at? Brian, you still in the chat? Oh, 8. You just seen it. Chapeau. I take my hat off. Thank you, James. Nice one, Brian. Nice one. Oh. Oh. Yeah, nice one. That's a strong ride. The finish was not easy. Well, obviously I was trying to animate it as much as possible. So, what was it like in that group there towards the end? Was it just about still draftable, or was it getting touch and go with the speed or the pace? Oh. Your best hour power, that's awesome. Throw it up for Brian in the chat, everybody. Awesome job, Brian. Regardless if it is or not, it must be close if you say so. Hard finish is your thing. That's definitely something that I struggle with. Well, like you mean when you say hard finish, you mean like a sprint at the end of a hard finish, that type of thing. Nice one, Jay. Nice one, Jay. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. Oh, 930. What's 30 seconds? Yeah, you'd leave me for dust there, quite frankly. I think 930 is probably my 1 second. That's let's just look at the end there. I mean, it's very. There was definitely. I noticed when I attacked over the little bridge, there was a bit of separation. There was a split, sort of at the back of the group. So maybe people that were just on their last legs. It was just, that just that last effort there caused that separation, and then I had to go again. That's really the only thing I could do, because if I just settle in, I think there, and you try and hold that for as long as you can, but then you ease up, and then you try and go again. I think the variable power is definitely the key. I think if you just hold the same pace there towards the end, people find it sort of easier maybe mentally to just hold the wheel, as opposed to if you surge and ease off and surge again. I don't know whether it mentally, I think it hurts more. Well, I suppose physically as well, but whew. Hey, nice one. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining today. Thank you for joining this morning. That's a slight change of plan to doing it in the afternoon. But it's worked out quite well. And I think it was a tough old race, even though it wasn't really a tough course. But no, look, I appreciate you watching and joining on this Sunday morning. It's fantastic to tick off another week of I would say uninterrupted training, but the word I'm looking for is uneventful, I suppose, because things have just been ticking along nicely. But thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you again next week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I hope you can do everything you want to do. So, Zwift Racing League team time trial on Tuesday. I think provisionally I'm down to do it. Nice little bit of extended threshold work there, perhaps. And yeah, we'll see you for the streams next week. Have a good weekend, everybody, and I'll see you soon.
very, very soon. Soon, very, very soon.